made it.
Would it bring champagne? I was going to bring this big bottle of champagne. Shake it. Oh, I forgot
What's up, TJ? I'd say he's just in the middle of that sidewalk.
We stayed there.
telling the glory of God. Great is God's faithfulness. In this time of prayer, I invite you to come to a time of silence to honor the lives lost in the events of 9/11. Let us come into silence. God of all glory, source of all knowledge and truth, we gather as a connected community to celebrate the accomplishments and true commencement of the class of 2002 from Buena Vista University. As angels soar and spirits of joy rise to meet you, we lift our hearts to you, God of abundant life and eternal love. You have created each one of us into your image and shared with us the gift of free will to chart our own journey as we seek out our individual call in life. Yet you have not left our side or abandoned us. You have placed a multitude of friends on the pathway to direct and affirm and encourage. We offer our thanks to you for those loving and affirming parents, family members, friends, teachers, mentors, and unexpected strangers who offered moments of laughter, patience, forgiveness, time, and grace. As we have each been so abundantly blessed, tug our hearts to be reminded to return those gifts to the generations who follow and search for purpose and guidance. Lord, protect each graduate as each one steps forward on this new twist in their journey of life. May your continuing and comforting presence always be acknowledged as you surround each soul. In times of fear, may you bring courage. In times of doubt, may you bring hope. In times of weariness, may you bring strength. In times of struggle, may you bring peace. In times of discernment, may you bring wisdom. In all things, may each one of your children seek to follow your way in word and truth and faith. We thank you again for those saints who had the insight and vision to build and create this university in faith and in trusting perseverance. Continue to offer your blessings to the current administration, trustees, faculty, staff, and generations of students who stepped through the arch at BVU as they carry on that tradition in hope and with confidence. We ask you to bless Mr. Saggau as he addresses this gathering today and as he and his family are welcomed at this BV University. We thank you for each life that has contributed to this day and helped to make this celebration possible. Enliven our spirit. Enliven our spirit to know you are here and that we can hold in our hearts the glimpse of authentic joy and true celebration in your presence. We pray these things intertwined with the prayers of each of our hearts. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. You may be seated.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, the faculty, staff, administration, and the class of 2002, I welcome parents, families, and our friends to this commencement ceremony of Buena Vista University. I'm pleased to be joined on the platform by a colleague of mine on the Board of Trustees, Bill Byrne. Also joining us today in the audience are Bill's wife, Lynn, my wife, Charlene, my fellow trustees, Dennis Young and his wife, Diane, Cordell Peterson and his wife, Sandra, and Bob Kramer and his wife, Cynthia. Bob and Cynthia's son, John, is graduating today. We especially welcome our honorary degree recipient, Trustee Bernie Saggau, his wife Lois, son David, and granddaughters Helen and Anna, and look forward to Bernie's commencement address. To the graduates, you have passed through an arch, which symbolizes your entry into a world that needs your good ideas, your hard work, and your leadership. With the education that you have received and will continue to receive throughout life, you are prepared for new challenges and new adventures. You have our very best wishes for a life filled with health, happiness, success, and service. Our commencement speaker today is Bernie Saggau, a member of Buena Vista's class of 49. As the executive director of the Iowa High School Athletic Association since 1967, he has gained national prominence in the field of high school athletics. In 1997, I had the privilege of introducing Bernie as a freshman member of the Buena Vista University Board of Trustees. You have heard much about what Bernie has done to make Iowa a leader in high school athletics, but his many contributions to Buena Vista often go unheralded beyond our campus. I can tell you that his dedication and support of this university is unmatched. Whether it's the quiet pleasures he gets from meeting on campus and sharing his thoughts and experiences with BV students, to keeping track of Buena Vista athletics, or giving generously to the university programs and projects that benefit our students. The blue and gold run strong in Bernie's veins. Today, having worked on the Board of Trustees with Bernie, and knowing what he has meant to this university and to the young people throughout the state, it gives me great pleasure to tell you a little bit about him. Bernie's family upbringing in his hometown of Denison, Iowa, stressed the bedrock Iowa values of honesty, integrity, and hard work. At BV in the 1940s, Bernie was a very busy student. He played 3 years of football and track and 1 year of basketball, and one of the first student athletes elected to the BV Athletic Hall of Fame. He completed 4 years of college work in just 3 years and worked the whole time. He also met and married his wife Lois, who is a 1950 graduate. After graduation from BV, he and Lois began their career in education. Bernie's career as a teacher, coach, principal, and businessman served him well when he joined the Iowa High School Athletic Association in 1963 and was named executive director 4 years later. As a hobby for 30 years, Bernie refereed high school, college basketball, and football. In 1996, he was selected by Referee Magazine as one of the top 20 individuals in the preceding 20 years to do the most for improving officiating in the United States. He has served as president of the National Federation of State High School Associations, as chair of the National Basketball Rules Committee, and member of the Football Rules Committee, as a director of the Iowa Games, and as a member of the United States Olympics House of Delegates Committee. Please join me in welcoming to Buena Vista a man who has dedicated his life to helping prepare young people to make the transition to adulthood as a responsible and caring citizen. Bernie Saggau.
Thank you, Don. I think we probably should get things started right, and it should be a story, graduates. A story represents maybe the kind of a community that some of you are from. It was a small community, and there was an older gentleman in that community. And when I call somebody old, they're up their little ways. He had won $10 million in a lotto. Think of it, $10 million, and didn't know it. But the lady who sold him the ticket knew it, and she told somebody, and they said, how can we tell him he's got a bad heart? He could get so excited, he could die. So they had a meeting. They said to the minister, you go tell him. And the minister said, why me? They say, we voted and you lost. Graduates, he got in his car, and he started out in the country to tell this older gentleman he won this $10 million. And the closer he got to his house, the faster he started to drive. And all of a sudden, he began to think, this guy could get excited, and he could die. He ran up. He knocked on the door, and Henry came to the door, and he says, Henry, it's a beautiful day. He said, preacher, it is a beautiful day. If you'll step in out of the rain, you won't get nearly as wet standing out there. He said, I want to ask you one question. If you won $10 million, what would you do? Without hesitation, he says, why, preacher, I'd give half to the church. Preacher died right there, right there. Now, graduates, there's a moral to that story. Sometimes the truth is hard to take. Now, the truth today is, I'm deeply honored to have this privilege of being your graduate speaker. I'm very humble, and you don't know how deeply I appreciate this. I also want to let you know, you can buy graduation speeches. Yeah, there's a company where you can buy them. I could give you an intellectual speech today, but I'm not an intellect, and that'd make me a phony. I promise you one thing. My speech will be from the heart, and those will be my comments today. Now, I also want everybody to realize something, how important graduation speakers are. In a group this size, if 30 of them, after 1 month, remembers anything I say, I'm in the top 15% of the speakers in America. And if 15 at the end of 6 months remember anything I've said, I'm in the top 10%. And if 10 of you at the end of 1 year remember anything I've said, I'm in the top 2%. So I know the importance of speakers. Today is a day of celebration. Nothing today can change what you've got. Everybody here today knows exactly what individuals here have done to get their diploma. Whether it's here on campus or in our centers. They respect you. Be proud. No one can take it away from you. I've always said there are 4 F's in our life, graduates, and that's what life's all about. Family, friends, faculty, and I mention faculty for those of you who are on campus, since you've been in grade K through now, you spend as much time with teachers and faculty as you has your parents. And the 4th F is faith. And I believe faith is here today, too. There's a lot of people, the graduates and the 3 Fs, wondering, how long is he going to speak? And several of my trustee friends are wondering the same thing. I'm reminded of the great speech that Winston Churchill gave. In my lifetime, graduates, I consider him the #1 leader. Winston Churchill was a scholar, an intellect, a writer, but he was a leader. And he was a champion of the common man. He was to give the graduation speech at Cambridge. And as they announced him, as he started up to the podium in his late 80s, he was very slow getting there, and the crowd stood and they started to roar, and when he got to the podium, it got silent. And then he looked at the graduates and he said, graduates, never, 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 never give up. That was his speech. And it perhaps is the greatest speech ever given, because he understood exactly what he said. Graduates, a lot of people here today with you, there's not a person in the audience today that doesn't love one of you. That's a fact. Sometimes we forget to think of those things. The New American College might not mean as much to some of your friends today, but you graduates, you understand the New American College. The philosophy is very simple. You gain knowledge, and then you go with knowledge with your character. And wherever you go, you will make that a better place to live. That is the service that you give to mankind. You care for people. You become involved in their schools. You become involved in the community. You volunteer. That's your home wherever you go. You take your 3 T's with you, and you've got them. You got your time, your talent, and treasure. Share them. Share them wherever you go. You see, graduates, in our life, we really can't do too much about the length of our life, but we can do something about its depth. The depth is giving of yourself to your fellow man. There's nothing secret about a good life. When you care for people, you respect people, that's what it's about. And that's what you take from Buena Vista. That's what you take from Buena Vista. Napoleon once said, "Imagination rules the world." And he was totally right. A little man came along with the greatest mind perhaps ever, by the name of Einstein. And he said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited to all the things we now know and understand. But imagination encompasses all the things there ever will be to know and to understand." Imagination and creativity and knowledge, graduates, is where you go. Just think, it was my pleasure 53 years ago to be a graduate like you. I've learned to love Buena Vista even more than the day I graduated, because I understand now what I really got. Yes, 53 years ago, if you took all the knowledge, graduates, that we have today, 100% of all the knowledge, 75% of it did not exist when I graduated from Buena Vista. Think of that. When I was born in that little town of Denison, if God had come down and put his hand on my head and said, "This dude right here, he's the sharpest one I've ever created. He knows everything that's known to man today. That makes him the smartest person in the world. But he will never learn another new thing. Today, I would know 1% of what's known to man." There are some graduates here today, a little older. Those of you graduating from the campus, maybe in your early 20s. In the year 2015, the prime of your life, knowledge will double every week. Just think, if you have a child in the year 2015, and God puts a hand on that child and says, "This is the smartest one I've ever created, knows everything to man, will never learn another new thing," your child in 6 weeks will know 1%. I believe that to be true. At Buena Vista, you have learned how to learn. You cannot learn it all, but you can learn how to learn. And that's what you take. You take from Buena Vista your character and what you've learned, and learn how to learn, and what a life you have ahead of you. My son David, one night I came home at 4 o'clock in the morning. I just refereed a basketball game in Kansas State. And I walked in the house, and he was home studying from college. He's studying chemistry. And I walked in at 4 o'clock in the morning, and here he is studying. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Studying." And he turned to me and he said this, "God, Dad, it's thrilling to learn." That's what it's been about here. Don't turn that thrill off, kids. Never quit learning. Keep that thrill. Some people get so confused, they try to make things complicated, graduates. I'll tell you what you do. You set your goals and your visions. You set them. You gain all the skill and knowledge about that goal. Skill and knowledge, that's been why you're at Buena Vista. School of knowledge. And here we go. You get a plan, and you never Never give up. And that dream you want, it's yours. If you don't get it, you'll be so close, it really won't make a difference. A beautiful young lady in Des Moines, Iowa, came to school one day. A friend jumped out from a locker and said, "Boo," and scared her. She threw her head back. She drove 2 wires up through her eyes, and she became totally blind in 30 seconds. I listened to that beautiful young lady talk. She said she realized she had 2 choices. She could sit back and watch the world go by blind, or she could go out and she could make it happen. She ran the 100-meter dash as a high school senior, totally blind. She has 3 gold medals for downhill skiing in the Olympics, coming down a mountain 45 miles an hour, and all she's got going from her are 2 things. Somebody on skis, you can hear their skis going, ch, 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 and a voice say, left, right, left, right. She's climbed the most dangerous mountain in America, totally blind. And some people say, I don't know if I can do that or not. Oh. Graduates, the only limitations you have are self-imposed. Nobody can tell you what your dreams and visions can be. That's for you to decide. Some of you will have perhaps the great thrill someday of having a son or daughter of your own. Lois and I, when we had our first son, he was all wrapped up in a blanket, graduates. He was 1 hour old, and they handed him to me. I didn't know how to squeeze that guy, but I wasn't going to fumble him, you can bet on that. But you know something, graduates? I honestly didn't know what I had a hold of. Well, I knew I loved him. It was only a few years later that I really learned what it was all about. You see, everybody here today, all these people, graduates, who love you here, who are your friends and respect you, we're all alike in one way. When we were all 1 hour old, we had no knowledge in the brain, no love in our hearts, and no patriotism in our blood. We could have taken 1 million boys and girls, 1 hour old, and flown them any country in this world, and where that big airplane would land would not change that country one bit. We could take 1 million youngsters from any country in this world and fly them to America. Wouldn't change America one bit. It's not the water we drink. It's not the air we breathe. It's the system of education. Freedom to learn. That's what makes us different. And there's something else you got to believe. If you're going forth in these communities and you're going to make these communities a place to live where there's a quality of life, you got to believe this in your heart, kids. Simply this. None of us had a choice who our parents were going to be. None of us had a choice whether we were going to be brown, black, or white. Not one of us had a choice we were boy or girl, American, Russian, Chinese, Japanese. But once in America, the freedom of choice. And today, you've expanded your foundation. Through education, you now have more choices. And I say this from the heart, and some people will laugh. If there is a hell on this earth, it's getting every day of your life and going to a job you do not like. Take the time to be what you want to be. It's your God-given rights. You live where that can be true. Maybe it's more college. That's fine. Maybe it's starting at the bottom here in a job, but you know where the top is at. Work is fun, and learning is thrilling. One of the greatest graduation stories I've ever heard, and it's absolutely true. There was a community in Kansas that had a community college with the high school, and the same man was president of both. A little girl graduating from high school went into the superintendent's office and said, I have a favor to ask. He said, what is it? She said, next Sunday we graduate, and you always get up and welcome all the parents, and you have all the parents stand would you have all the Uncle Ben stand to? And he said, why? She says, well, my daddy was an engineer on a train, and there was a train crash, and my daddy was killed. And my mommy had the three of us, my two brothers and me. And we were very close together. And nights we would play, and Mommy would always say prayer, and we'd go to bed. And one night, the angel of death took Mother. The three of us, we didn't know what to do. We had no friends. We didn't know what to do. We had an Uncle Ben. Mommy'd have Uncle Ben come to our house about one Sunday a month. She wasn't too proud of Uncle Ben. He was a good-for-nothing, drunken bum. But she'd have him come for Sunday dinner. So we said, let's call Uncle Ben. And they called Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben came. And Uncle Ben said to the children, life will never be the same. And she said, you see, my one brother is a medical doctor now. My other brother will graduate as an engineer, and I'm going to go to school next year to be a teacher. I sure would like to have Uncle Ben stand. And the old professor said, I think that's a good idea. So out there in the middle of the stadium with 7,000 people swarming around, they started the exercises, and just like all the wonderful family you got here, the old superintendent gets up and he said, would all the parents please stand? And they all stood and everybody clapped. And he looked over and picked the little gal out. He could tell she was wondering. And after everybody sat down, and then he said, would all the Uncle Bens please stand? Uncle Ben didn't stand. The old professor says, and if Uncle Ben doesn't stand, we're not going on with these ceremonies. And all of a sudden, the people in that community knew who Uncle Ben was. And all of a sudden, you could just feel the tension. And Uncle Ben stood up. And they started to roar. And more noise came from that stadium than any touchdown ever produced. Well, they went on with the exercises all through. And everybody was shaking hands and hugging like they're going to do after today's program. And all of a sudden, they look. And there comes a little gal with Uncle Ben, a little man. And they walk down, and she said, I'd like to have you meet my Uncle Ben. And he says, I want to meet him. He said, Ben, how in the world did you ever do it? Well, he said, after we buried their mommy, we drove to the courthouse. And I told the children to stay in the car. I went upstairs to the judge's room, and I walked in. The judge says, what do you want? And I said, Judge, I want to take those 3 kiddies home with me. He says, you? A good-for-nothing drunken bum? Why should you be able to have these children? And Ben said, last night, I was reading the book. And the book said, whoever believes in me can change. And you know something? I think the Lord meant good-for-nothing drunken bums too. The old judge stood up and cleaned his glasses. And he turned around and he said, Ben, I think the Lord did have you in mind. He included drunken bums. You take those kiddies home, and we'll stop by in a couple of weeks and see if we can help you. Well, he said they got in the car, and we went home, and the kids were just a screaming and a hollering. And the first thing we walked in the house, and I said, all right, let's kneel. Let's kneel. Let's take a hold of hands. And he said, I said, God, you hold on to me, and I will hold on to these 3 kiddies. And he says, you know something? The 5 of us have done a pretty good job. That's the 4th F, faith. You got to have it, graduates. The faith of your choice, but faith. I like the story, and I'll conclude at the end of the story for you. The story is a family that had 3 young children, and they lived in a beautiful community where they shared their lives with everybody. Sharing your life is being active and caring about people. They had a terrible thing happen. The little family dog ran across the street and was run over. And Mommy and Daddy, they said, we just got to do something. The kids aren't handling this too good. We got to get another dog. And Dad says, you know, they're so expensive. And it costs money for shots. We have to think about this. The next day he went to work and he said to one of his partners, he says, you know something? They're putting pressure on me. They want another dog, and you know something? Dogs cost a lot of money and it takes a lot of shots, and you got to train them. The guy said, wait a minute. I heard something today on the way to work. The veterinarian's got a dog. You can have it. It's got all its shots and it's trained, but you got to pick it up by 6 o'clock tonight. He says, you're kidding. He picked up the phone, he called the veterinarian, he said, have you got a dog for nothing? He says, I sure have. He says, can you keep it until 5 o'clock? And the guy says, sure. He says, good, my family, I'll be there. He called the wife and he says, honey, I got good news. We're going to get a dog. She says, what kind is it? It doesn't cost anything. And it's got shots. She said, okay. At 5 o'clock, they got in that car, and those 3 kids, you can imagine, here they are, under 6 years old. They're going to get another dog, and they're thrilled, and they get down there, and they walk in. The vet says, he's back here in this back building. And they walk back there, and they open that door, and wham! There was a great big greyhound. And the kids ran over, and they started putting their hands on the cage, and the old dog's trying to lick them, and Mom and Dad are looking at each other, and the guy says, well, let him out. And he says, oh, no, he's too big. He says, he won't hurt anybody. They let that big dog out, and he starts licking those kids and hitting them in the face with his tail, and all of a sudden he turns to Dad, and he puts both paws on Dad's shoulder and looks him right in the eyes. And he says, I think we're going to take him home. And he said, but we got a problem. He's too big. How are we going to get him home in the car? And kids are always smarter than adults. They said, don't worry. They got in the car, all 5 of them, in the front seat. And a big old greyhound in the back seat. And they got home, and he was a family dog. It took 2 days in the garage. The 3rd day he was in the laundry room. The 4th day in the kitchen. And the 5th day he was a family dog. One day the kids had swimming lessons. And the big old greyhound's sitting on the porch. And the old greyhounds are looking around, and here across the yard comes a little, short-legged Cocker Spaniel. And the old Cocker Spaniel walked up to the big dog, and he says, you're pretty tall. And the big old dog says, I got long legs. He says, understand you used to be a racing dog. He said, yeah, I was a racer. He said, did you ever win any races? Yeah, I won some races. Did you ever make any money? Made some money. How much? Oh, close to $1 million. Wow. He says, tell me something. Do you think you could still race? And the big old dog says, I could still race. He says, do you think you could win? I could still win. He said, how come you're not racing? He said, one day, when I was chasing that little rabbit around the track, the machine broke. And I caught that rabbit. It was artificial. It was not real. And I realized what I'd been chasing wasn't real. Graduates, go for the good life. Take the dreams of Buena Vista, the campus schools, and the centers. Wherever you go, you make it a better place. And you will find a quality of life some men never find because they are chasing things that aren't real. Out of love and respect for all the graduates and the faculty, would you all, including the graduates, please, take a hold of the person next to you. You may not know them, but you have something in common today. You are here with love in your hearts. Please do that for me if you would, please. Thank you. Here is the word. Come, grow hold with me, for the best of life is yet to be. God bless you, graduates, your family, your friends, the faculty. God bless Buena Vista, and God bless America. Thank you.
Bernie Saggau is a person who all of his life has exemplified through his words and his actions the virtues of teamwork, dedication, courage, integrity, and pride. He did it as a student at Buena Vista and through a professional career that has spanned the years from teaching and coaching to principal and businessman. His most recognized accomplishments have come during his 39 years of service to the Iowa High School Athletic Association, including his 35 years as its executive director, a position that carries with it the heavy responsibility of making decisions that help shape the character and the futures of thousands of young student athletes. As executive director, his name has become almost synonymous with the organization. The record book of his career is filled with honors and accomplishments. To name a few, Mr. Saggau was a recipient of the Award of Merit of the National High School Athletic Directors Association. He received the Distinguished Award of the National High School Coaches. He was honored by the Board of Control of the Iowa High School Athletic Association in 1989, which established an award in his name to recognize the outstanding citizen athlete in every high school in Iowa. And he was inducted into the Buena Vista Athletic Hall of Fame in 1969. His record of service to Buena Vista University demonstrates the same passion and commitment he has brought to his professional life. The time he volunteers on campus in dialogue with our students and his generous support of the university's high-priority projects and programs all contribute to the strong leadership position that BVU has forged in higher education. Mr. Saggau was appointed to the Buena Vista University Board of Trustees in 1997 as the alumni representative to the board, and now chairs the Institutional Advancement Committee. Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty, the administration, the Board of Trustees of Buena Vista University, it is an honor to recommend Mr. Bernie Saggau for this Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Buena Vista University, I do hereby confer on you, Bernie Saggau, the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, with all the honors, privileges, and responsibility thereunto pertaining. I'd like to now introduce graduates Mandy Peter and Craig Houghton, who are co-chairs for the Storm Lake Senior Class Gift Campaign.
Since its inception in 1991, the senior class gift has been an opportunity for seniors to take one final look back over our years at BVU and the wonderful opportunities we have enjoyed. The senior class gift is also an opportunity for us to continue our relationship with BVU and to support the students who will follow. On behalf of the class of 2002, we are pleased to announce that the Storm Lake graduating class has raised $4,570 in pledges to BVU.
The money raised will go to various programs, with the majority of the money going to build the construction of an entrance to the Storm Lake campus directly up the road at the intersection of Grand and Iowa. This entrance symbolizes the crossroads we are approaching: graduation and then on to grad school or our careers. Mandy and I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity for us to give back to the university. We'd like to thank all of the seniors who participated in the 2002 Senior Class Gift Campaign. Our memories, as well as their efforts, will be remembered for years to come. Congratulations.
Thank you both, and thanks to the senior class.
As the candidates for graduation come forward to receive their degrees, parents and friends are asked to remain in their seats until the end of the ceremony. We do have a professional photographer who will be snapping your graduate's special moment to share with you later. Would the class of 2002 please stand? Mr. President, as of this day, or as of August 2002, these students have fulfilled the requirements for graduation as specified by the faculty, administration, and Board of Trustees, and as certified by the Registrar of Buena Vista University. They are eligible for the Master of Science in Education, the Bachelor's degree of Science, or the Bachelor's degree of Art this 19th day of May 2002. Mr. President, it is my great pleasure to present to you the class of 2002.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Buena Vista University, I do hereby confer on you the degree of Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, and Master of Science in Education, with all the honors, privileges, and responsibility thereunto pertaining.
David Benjamin DeWild.
Lynn Renee Dodge.
Samuel J. Gravy.
Rosella K. Dykstra Harms.
Anne Elizabeth Hogland Stein.
Nadine Kelly Hill Jessen.
John Michael Josephson.
Allison Noel Glock Moore.
Chandra Sarasio Meyer.
Roland J. Schmidt.
Kurt Myron Schwark.
Rebecca J. Steen.
Christina Marie Whitfer Sawyer.
Jason Michael Wood.
The Storm Lake School of Science, Joe Killeen Aids.
Grant Robert Bosom.
Lucas John Henry Brinkham, summa cum laude.
Eric John Butel, cum laude.
Robert Elaine Sajeka, summa cum laude.
Michael Allen Collingwood.
Clinton John Deegan.
Megan Jean DeCam, magna cum laude.
Jennifer Ann Durham, magna cum laude.
Tyler James Novak Fouch.
Michael Robert Raymond Gosnell, cum laude.
Ryan Dean Hammond.
Quinn Klein Hildman.
Chad Christian Kelly.
Christy A. Klein.
Brian Donald Keppen.
Adam Lee Konopasek.
Desiree Lynn Cavadera.
Abby Renee Langner, magna cum laude.
Andrea Nicole Lapham.
Amy Sue Linhard, cum laude.
Robin Jean Rasmussen, cum laude.
Christina M. Schwaller, magna cum laude.
James Arthur Sellers.
Christy Marie Schuster, cum laude.
Amanda Lynn Stumpenhorst, magna cum laude.
Valerie Van Zee.
Talina Brooke Waters.
Eric Ray Watt.
Michelle Holly Willis.
Deborah Dorothy Zorn, cum laude.
Storm Lake Harold Walter Sieben School of Business, Allison Ann Angel.
Joan Marie Beener, cum laude.
Jessica Ray Beving.
Derek John Blyle.
Matthew Carl Boyd.
Jennifer Ray Bruns.
Zebulon Carl Burkheiser, cum laude.
Stephen J. Burrell.
Rachel Renee Carey, magna cum laude.
Nate Thomas Colbert.
Ryan Joel Collison.
John Robert Kramer.
Vibhuti Desai.
Mohamedou Diallo.
Alicia Sue Erlmeyer.
Luke Justin Fast.
Graham Allen Forbes, magna cum laude.
Adam Christopher Franzine.
Brian Christopher Furler.
Matthew C. Gidley.
Rachel Marie Halder.
Nathan Allen Heilman.
Timothy David Heinley, magna cum laude.
Craig Stephen Houghton, cum laude.
Adam Michael Hill.
Andrew Stephen Hodges, cum laude.
Eric Joseph Hoffman.
Jeremy Paul Holmes.
Nicholas Ryan Holstein.
Corey Paul Hunter.
Travis Michael Jaminet.
Brett Joseph Johnson.
Daniel Joseph Keeley.
Amanda Sue Kyer.
Mark Lee Kincaid.
Emily Christine Kruger.
J.D. Kuchera.
Brent Carson LaFrenz.
Di Chen Lam.
Jennifer Elizabeth Lange.
Daniel D. Leslie.
Jay Lindsley.
Laura Lynn Lunders.
Melissa Meanne McCorkle.
Kevin A. Ortman.
Gayla Monique Paget.
Amanda Lynn Patterson, summa cum laude.
Mandy Joe Peter, cum laude.
Kiomini Che Pen Kem Ka.
Erin Elaine Koss.
Dana Marie Reppert, cum laude.
Jeanette C. Reeks, magna cum laude.
Richard Arlen Rosendahl.
Eric Curtis Shoddy. Jesse J. Shear. Eric John Schneider.
Scott Stevens.
Holly Marie Stork, summa cum laude.
Scott Michael Swally.
Trevor Lewis Thulin.
William Thomas Toner, Jr.
Lucas Michael Truitt.
Christopher Michael Wagner.
Shaughnessy Lynette Williams, cum laude.
Keith A. Wolf, cum laude.
Scott Allen Wunschel.
Storm Lake Campus School of Social Science, Philosophy, and Religion, Matthew Allen Asselford.
Gary Lyle Backus, cum laude.
Krista Roseanne Baggett.
Nicholas David Beard, magna cum laude.
Adam Floyd Benz.
Laura Marie Bernard, summa cum laude.
Jackie Marie Bowding, summa cum laude.
Kristen Jean Bohannon, cum laude.
Miranda Mary Brenneman, cum laude.
Kevin Patrick Bresnahan, cum laude.
Oscar Cardenas.
Christopher Wayne Kleinsmith, magna cum laude.
Cody Michael Cochran.
Teresa Nicole Conway.
Jamie Lee Croat.
Lexa L. Cronin.
Jeremy James Cross, summa cum laude.
Brian Scott Damas, summa cum laude.
Tali Marie Devine.
Jamie Carl Euchen.
Catherine Julia Evans, summa cum laude.
Brenda Sue Foster.
Lord Giddy.
Will M. Graves.
Adam Michael Greenwell.
Jennifer Elizabeth Hayworth, cum laude.
Dana Hoffmeyer, cum laude.
Amanda A. Jackson.
Shelley Robin Katzer.
Jessica Marie Knudsen.
Jeffrey John Lang.
Sharon K. Mahana, cum laude.
Angela Marie Merchant, magna cum laude.
Audrey Meredith Pearson, summa cum laude.
Casey Peel.
Rebecca Ann Proust.
Jeremy Ron Pullen.
Amy Lynn Reimer, cum laude.
Josh Michael Ritchie.
Joyce A. Sandine, summa cum laude. Timothy Andrew Smith.
Matthew Allen Streeter.
Ramey Joe Urin.
Andrew Joseph Wyneth.
Sarah Ann Westergren.
Karna Dane Wilcox Nielsen, magna cum laude.
Matthew Eugene Wilson. And Mr. Michael Gassaway accepting the honorary bachelor's degree for his son, Andy. The Storm Lake School of Education, Angela Lou Aaronholtz.
Michelle Beth Allen, summa cum laude.
Kristen Louise Anderson.
Brenda Jean Berger, cum laude.
Lindsay Lena Butler, cum laude.
Daniel James Christofferson.
Dax Allen Doran.
Jennifer Lynn Fitch, magna cum laude.
Sherry Ann Fitzpatrick, cum laude.
Jenna Marie Berg Gillespie.
Garrett Howard Gingrich.
Gwen Marie Gutaw, cum laude.
Nikki Irene Hansen.
Katie Renee Hausman, summa cum laude.
Kelly Sue Herrig.
Candy Lynn Hibbs.
Leanne Marie Holscher, cum laude.
Amanda Sue Hubert.
Andrea Ann Bowman Insko, magna cum laude.
Angela Marie Jensen.
Adam Clayton Jones.
Suanne Youngers.
Chingwang Ko.
Ryan Richard Lau.
Stacy Lynn Lawrenson, cum laude.
Carrie Lynn Mailer.
Brenda Michelle Malloy, summa cum laude.
Brandon T. Martin.
Carlos M. Martinez.
Erica Lee Milky, magna cum laude.
Megan Maureen O'Malley, cum laude.
Jamie Lynn Parmenter, magna cum laude.
Janie Marie Peters, magna cum laude.
Rodney Michael Pooler.
Lana Ann Radicki.
Marcia Jan Rupert.
Jenny Marie Rydberg, magna cum laude.
Tara Jo Sands.
Allison May Schultz, cum laude.
Angelique Toole Spar.
Nancy A. Gregory Stark.
Travis Ryan Stearns.
Michelle Lee Stedding, magna cum laude.
Stephanie Jean Still.
Kylie Ann Swick.
Eric Marshall Thompson.
Molly Marie Teege.
Heather Marie Walski, magna cum laude.
Brianne Elizabeth Wetzel.
Rodney Joe Wiebers, cum laude.
Storm Lake School of Communication and Arts, Christopher Allen, summa cum laude.
Chad Allen Aubrey, magna cum laude.
Nicole M. Oddsmore, magna cum laude.
Courtney Lynn Bear, magna cum laude.
Julie Marie Bryce, magna cum laude.
Micah K. Chaplin.
Catherine Ann Clipperton.
Tiffany M. Dentlinger.
Aaron Robert Gillespie.
Ann Lee Gillespie.
Melissa Marie Glassford.
Ryan Christopher Gaylor, summa cum laude.
Philip G. Hain, Jr.
Kylie Brooke Highland.
Christina Marie